Hey Glam Squad, how you guys doing tonight? Me? I'm doing pretty good. Much better now that I get to sit down with my glass of wine with my girls and talk. I looked forward to this chit chat since about hump day. I'm ready to reboot, reset, and kind of get ready for the week ahead so that I can be productive and I can be bountiful and do all the things that I'm supposed to do, get on my grind. I'm excited to just sit down and talk with you guys, and I hope you've had a great week, and I hope you guys are just as excited to sit and talk, have some girl time. I got my wine, my bonnet, my PJs. I hope you got the same thing. Have a sip of that wine, and let's talk. A lot has been going on this week, like a lot, you guys. A lot. It has been tough for America, specifically for the African American community, anybody who is related to African American person. And I say that because there are moms of other races who have sons that would be directly affected by some of the events that have went on here lately. And I think that they deserve a woosah moment too, and a my heart reaches out for you moment too. And I think they deserve to be able to talk about it with us. So, we're inclusive on this channel. We're open, and I want to make sure that we include them as well. So, the current event that I'm talking about in specific is the event. I told you guys we were going to talk about some tough stuff. We're going to reboot. We're going to unload all this stuff, get it off our chest, so that way we can go into the next week a little lighter, a little happier, a little glowier, a little peaceful, okay? It's hard to be peaceful in these moments, but a little bit more. Talking is therapeutic, and it helps. It definitely helps. So that is what the Chit Chats are about. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about these tough topics. That's why we got our wine, okay? We're going to talk about it. We're going to open up. We're going to talk about it. So I personally have not gotten a chance to see the video. That is horrible, I know. But I have a son now. He is 1 year old. He'll be 2 soon. And reality set in with me before, and I reacted earlier before. Like when I would see an African American male getting killed for no reason, it would hurt, and I would speak out about it. I would be angry. But now that I have a son who could be potentially misunderstood, who could be mistaken for something that he's not due to stereotypes, who, even if, Lord forbid, he did grow up to have some type of record that his past mistakes can be held against him, he wouldn't have the opportunity that other people may have to have a fresh start. It's automatically him being taken as something worse than what he could be, and it's been tough for me to actually sit and watch these videos. They hurt me more than anger me these days, because it's just sad that I'm gonna have to talk with my son about things like this, and how his community could possibly feel about him. It's tough. So I'm actually going to be brave. I'm going to be brave, and I'm going to watch this video. And after I watch this video, I am going to come back and we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about how it feels. We're gonna outlet and leave comments, guys. Leave comments about how you feel. Let it out. This is a safe place. Let out how you feel about the riots in a respectful manner, because yeah, I'm not gonna tolerate any disrespect, or if you don't understand something or why things are going on, then ask questions in a respectful manner. And this is going to be open communication. We're all going to talk, we're all going to discuss. So ask the questions that you want to ask in a respectful manner, but please, again, be respectful of other situations and be receptive and open to what people have to say about this particular topic and why we may feel the way that we feel. And remember, my opinion is just my opinion as well. I can only give an opinion. I can't, my emotions and how I feel about something can be only factual to me, and it may resonate with others. So just understand that what I say will be my opinion. And I understand that what you say will be your opinion. You may not agree with me, and I respect that. But I want you to be able to have a place where you can talk about it. We can all talk about it. We can get it off our chest and we can communicate. So I'm going to watch this video. So I just watched that video. Man. I gotta go get me some more wine, and I'll be right back and we're gonna talk about it. So many emotions about that. Where do I even start, Glim Squad? Like, where do I even start? It's so sad that we live in a world where a man could cry out, a man who there is more force used against him than he against them. How do we have a world, or how does a world exist where the quest for power, the hatred, the racism can be so widespread, so systemic, so outrageous that a man literally crying out for his mother, crying out for, like, begging for air, citizens watching on, asking for just somebody to check a pulse. Like, stop, think for a minute, check a pulse. And not just that officer that did that, there was a obvious power exertion that was shown obvious. Like my first degree is in psychology, and his whole body mechanics in that moment, his posture, his whole demeanor exuded him having the power and not caring what happened to that man. He knew he was in the wrong. A couple of times it almost looks like he was smirking. And it was all about him having power. First and foremost, rest in peace, rest in heaven, rest with your mother, rest in love. George, you did not deserve that, and I'm so sorry to his family, so sorry to his loved ones that you have to see this over and over again. You have to experience it over and over again, and you have to feel his mispresence, because he was a human. He was a human. He was a person. He had a life. He had some type of legacy that was taken from him. And I say taken from him because in my eyes, that was murder. That was murder. You had not only this man begging you to stop, to let him breathe, just let him. He said he will do what they asked him to do. He just wanted to breathe. This man was begging. If a person, I'm also a nurse, so I've seen life fade from people. I know what it looks like when someone is in transition from living to dying. And that video clearly shows someone who was living and someone who was dying and someone who died. That is traumatic. That is saddening. That is disheartening. That was inhumane. I am someone who is a public server as well. I have dealt with people. Now I'm in the newborn nursery, so I don't have that as much, but I did work ER. I worked pediatric ER. So I've seen instances of people who were angry, who were resisting, who were fighting back, I did adult ER a couple of times, and I've just seen a lot. And nothing that I've seen, I'm so grateful that my previous coworkers weren't the type of people, the previous officers that I've worked with weren't the type of people to so blatantly, so unapologetically take a black man's life, take a man's life, take someone's loved one's life, just because. And all of that happened so fast. People want to bring up, I haven't had a chance to research any of this. This is just me going off the top of my head because I didn't want to see it at first. But I do recognize that I had to at some point. To take someone's life in that manner is just disgusting. Disgusting. I'm so glad my coworkers, the officers that I know would never, because they didn't even have time to check his history. So even if he did have a history, even if he did forge money or whatever, that does not give you the right to murder someone, to murder them, to torture them essentially, because death by asphyxiation is horrible. That's horrible. And now I didn't read the article, but from scrolling Facebook, for them to say that it was a mix of underlying medical conditions. So you mean to tell me that if I'm a hemophiliac, somebody who bleeds a lot, we'll just say it like that, somebody who bleeds a lot, just because I'm that, if somebody stabs me and I bleed to death, does that not mean that person committed murder just because I happen to die quicker because of some type of medical condition that I had prior to them abusing me? No. They did not treat him with basic human respect. I know they swore in and they had a right to protect and serve. We are not serving them. They are serving us, just like when a patient comes into my hospital and that is my patient. They are not serving me. I am serving them because I am the public server. It is my duty to serve them, to advocate for them. And a duty as an officer is to protect the public, but also to maintain justice, maintain rights. And it's just so sick, sad, and disgusting that he was not the only officer there, and that those other officers probably knew exactly what type of person he was, what type of animal he was, and still allowed him to do that. It's so sad. So sad. And I get emotional because I have a son. I have a son. And if that was my son laying there on the cold concrete, nose bleeding, no matter what his past was, like if he deserved to go to jail, send him to jail. That's what he deserves. But making mistakes is not a death sentence until it's a death sentence. If that person is on death row, that's a whole different conversation. But this man did not even get his right to trial. And it's not that this officer had a lack of knowledge, because even if he knew nothing up until that day, he knew something in that moment because the bystanders were telling him. That was his chance to step out of the situation. Okay, others are seeing that this man is not breathing. A whole paramedic was there. And I feel for her, because it's hard enough for us as healthcare workers to have patients that we want to help, that we want to live, and it's just not their time. And you did everything that you could but the outcome was still not ideal. It's hard. So for her, I'm sure it's somebody who saves lives on the daily, who picks up people every shift, who needs emergency care. For her, I know that had to hurt. I know it had to hurt. Because she couldn't do what she was taught to do so long. She couldn't check his pulse. She couldn't do life resuscitating things like CPR because they wouldn't even allow her to. So her cussing at the officer was because she felt helpless in that moment. They took away her ability, her gift in that moment. And she knew what was happening. Just like when I watched the video, I know what was happening. And I love people. Like, I love people. I do. I think human beings are beautiful. Like, for the most part, I think the best of them, it's beautiful. But I think sometimes we can't step out of our own dynamic to understand the injustices that are brought upon other people. I don't personally agree with burning stuff down and looting, but I understand. I understand the pain. I understand the hurt. I understand what it feels like to know that at any moment, any unfortunately unlucky moment, that a black man crosses a bad officer, that man could have his life taken from him unjustly. I understand that. And I have a son who's a black son who I intend on raising right, but he has to have a chance. The first thing that black men think when they see officers is not, I'm going to get a fair chance. It's that I might die. I might die in this moment due to misunderstanding of who I am. And when you've marched and you've pleaded and you've asked and you've protested and you've went to law and you've asked for justice and you've brought up things like the race riot and you've brought up the injustices that have been put on your ancestors, and nothing changes, what else do you do? What else do you do when you're not being heard? I don't blame them. They are hurting. They are doing the best thing that they know how, other than going and hunting down his family, other than doing the same thing, murdering because they had someone that they loved, somebody that was like them, murdered. These people are fighting for their brothers, their cousins, their nephews, their sons. They're hurting. I'm hurting. I have friends that are hurting. I have family that's hurting. The home of the brave and the land of the free. What is free about George Floyd's situation? What was brave about that? Because I saw a coward somebody who probably got bullied in school and decided to take it out on a random person. And he did not. I haven't read full articles on it, but for there to even be little Facebook posts on his past as an officer, he did not have a clean slate. He did not. How can you as a human being have somebody begging underneath you for even just water? Jesus asked for water on the cross. Bet you he done went to some type of communion Sunday and said that was inhumane that Jesus didn't get water. The man was already cuffed. And again, I was an ER nurse. I worked with officers. Nice officers. So I don't blame every single officer. Just the ones who do stuff like this and the ones who don't stand up to them, because you are just as guilty. You are just as guilty. People who don't speak out are just as guilty. And for them to say that it's medical conditions, again, as a nurse, I call BS. I call BS. Because just because you have a medical condition, if anything, that means you need to be taken with more care. You need to be handled with more care than somebody who is fully healthy. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that if you are cutting off someone's airway, they will die. If you're on someone's neck and they're saying, "I can't breathe," and then they stop moving, they are dying. If their movements slow, they are dying. Or how about the fact if their movements slow, they're obviously not resisting. That was the most blatant form of police brutality, police murder that I ever seen. And it's sad. So, no, people won't riot and people won't loot if they got justice. If it stopped happening, they would not do it. They are crying out. There are a couple sprinkles of people taking advantage who could care less. But then there's some people who genuinely are like, we need to do something that makes America listen. I think people just don't know what else to do. What do you do when you tried everything that you can do and nothing's working? You're still not being heard. Your voice is still silent. Your family's still dying. People who are like you are still being murdered, treated like animals. What do you do? And we all, as people, have to have a little bit of sincerity, a little bit of understanding for the opposite of us. It's just so much you can talk about on this situation. So much. But all I can say is we just gotta be better people. We gotta be better. Just because you're an officer, it doesn't give you the right to take a human life. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have to pay for that. Someone down your generational line is going to have to pay for your actions. If you don't pay for them, they will. And that's you to blame. You're going to have to answer to God for that. But I do pray with all of my heart and hope that peace is rewarded to everybody who felt some anguish, some pain, some trauma behind the situation. And I hope that the blinds of ignorance are removed for the people who don't understand the pain, the trauma. I hope that you seek out understanding. Why don't you ask that Black coworker how they feel about situations like this? What the rationale behind some of the stuff is. Ask them why they think their people do what their people do. Ask them. If you don't understand, if you don't know, don't just speak on something just because you feel a certain way, and definitely don't do it in somebody who it may have physically, not physically, but like emotionally and spiritually impacted, because that's just as ignorant. If you don't speak up, if you don't stand out, you're just as guilty. Just as guilty. Hold on. Okay. I'm out of my second glass of wine. So that means it's almost time to call it a night. It's almost time to go to sleep. Plus, I think I'm about to make some banana pudding before I go to bed, because I love me some banana pudding. So please, please, please make sure that you comment below how you feel about this situation. What viewpoint do you have to offer? How can you open yourself up to other viewpoints? How can we as a society change this narrative that we have going as America, because other countries are laughing at us? They are feeling bad for us because of the type of things that we are going through right now. How can we as a country change that narrative? Put your wishes to the family in the comments. Your condolences to the family in the comments. Let me know how you guys feel. Let's just talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's get it all off so that we can start this week in a better light and get some of this heavy stuff. It'll never fully be gone, but let's progress forward. Let's move forward. Let's shed some of this weight. Let's take some of this weight off our shoulders. Do it with me. Grab that weight off that shoulder. Take it off. Throw it down. The other shoulder, grab that weight. Take it off. Throw it down. Don't pick them back up. Don't pick them back up. Go into next week light. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I love you guys. You are beautiful. You are worthy. You are life. Okay? You are a woman. And if you aren't a woman, you are a man. But that's okay too. I don't discriminate on this channel. I love you guys. And I will see you next week.